The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey guys, so we're about 5 minutes early, but I'm getting a few questions coming in. So just while we prepare for everybody to be here, then I'll just answer these questions that are coming in. If you can hear me okay, just drop a message. If you can see the screen okay, just drop me a message, let me know. Regarding questions, yes, this will be recorded, and it won't be posted immediately. It will be posted by the end of the week, by the end of Friday. Last time it come through on Wednesday, I think it was, for the last webinar. But yeah, we like to say Friday, but it might come through before then, and it'll be posted in the group. Okay. Doug, regarding your question for a link, yeah, you've got cPanel, SiteGround. You would want to do something with htaccess or a redirect within your cPanel. Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, so obviously if you've got any little general questions, just pop them in. But obviously I can't go into too much detail or we won't start on time. But we're just going to be passing a few minutes while I had a few questions. What you're seeing on the screen is what we're going to be doing to start off with, which is showing this layout, how you build this layout. Now this layout might look a little bit funky, but there's a lot to this layout, which you'll learn as we go through it. The status of the automated webinar capability is it is in beta, it is in process. I can't directly give an answer of where that stands, but I think the answer would be exactly the same. It is in process. Drop a message in the group or support at, and then they can respond to that more clearly. If you don't know what this is, which a few questions are saying, what language is this? This is called Lorem Ipsum, which is a standard designer, in effect, piece of text that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but allows people to focus more clearly on the design rather than trying to focus on what text it is. So yeah, it's a dummy text. All the previous webinar trainings are located at help.convertri.com, and they are here on this Q&A webinars here. So the last two that I did are here, and then there's previous ones before that. Okay, so you can get a lot of good training from there. Yeah, the goal for this, as far as best practices, is to show you best practices of layout, how to create a nice clean layout with nice clean centering, space around elements, and that's why these you've got quite a few funky colors here, just so you can see the contrast of how this is lining up, how this all sits nicely. And once you can design a page like this, then you can design any page. But yeah, basically we'll be going through a funnel from scratch and just starting off with this template. Yeah, Norman, that is some unfortunate news. I'm not going to dig too much into it here, but yeah, very unfortunate. Okay, so we've got about 2 more minutes. Most people are getting here now. I'm going to view this page and then start off completely blank. Okay, just check that I've saved everything. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to start off with a completely blank page. So this would be a new page within your funnel. And then create a page from scratch. This can be webinar best practices. Any questions that do fall slightly out of what the webinar was committed for, which is going to be, first we're going to do best practices and just going through all of this layout, how you build all of this layout. And then we'll be going into checkouts, and we'll also be going into autoresponder and just generally connecting that up. If there is any questions that fall with outside of that, I'll happily answer them at the end, and we can play about with that. Okay. So the reason we're doing a design like this is because it's got one layer here, one section. Let's say we've got one section here, we've got two sections here, we've got three sections here, we've got four sections here, and then we've got a kind of multi-section by the footer right here. Okay, so that is the importance of why this design. This should basically cover the ability to create any design. This is standard sort of processing. Okay, so we're going to start off with this first sort of layer and sort of layout. So what you'll notice is these blue bars right here, which is on the display right here. There is a guideline width. Okay, so you can change this if you want to, but it starts at 960, and just for simplicity I'm going to keep it at 960 because that's what basically everybody who doesn't change this is going to be using. Okay, so when we start off with that 960, we're going to use panels as the main sort of containment of an element. If you've used an editor before, a visual editor, normally they are block editors. Now Convertri has a lot powerful layout tools because it's not a block editor. You can move things around, but still using best practices from how you would use a block editor will help you in the long run. Okay, so once you've got your panel like this, you could center it, which is these two reverse arrows, one in white, one in black. And then you can full width it right here. Okay, so this would be full width. So anything on this, when it's full width, will show all the way through the page. So if I put another panel in here now, and I'm going to put this specifically to a 960 width, which is what I've already said is the guideline amount. Okay, I'm going to put that as 960. I'm going to then center that. Okay, and then I'm going to give this a different color. So this background can be just a light gray like this. Okay, and then what I can also do is using the positioning is really powerful. The positioning through element properties. So you go onto element properties, go onto positioning, and I can see that currently the box behind it is 366 in height. So if I want to match that, the easiest way is going to be just to type it in. Okay, and then I know that it was right at the top, so the Y position was 0 as well. Okay, so I've just centered that perfectly. Kevin, it's just started about a minute ago. We are basically just going through this layout for anybody little latecomers. This is what we're going through, the best practices and why you would create a page so that you can create any sort of design that you want, and also have them nice and clean, and also when it goes into mobile, it looks perfect within reason. Okay, so if I preview this now, what we're going to see is this is the layer that was the full width one. Now if I hold down Control and scroll out my mouse, you can see that this full width one does as it should, which keeps on going full width, but the one in the center right here obviously stays to that limit of 960 pixels. Okay, so what might you want to do with this? Well, this might be where you want your background. Okay, so if you want this to be an image, and let's say what background have we got? Let's try this one. Okay, so if you want that to be an image, then you put that image right there, But if you try to do that on this back one, let me just go back. So if you try to put that same image on the full width one, okay, and then we'll preview it again, okay, and when we scroll out, that does really funky things to that picture, okay. So ideally, and this will change depending on how the person views your page. And if the person is viewing on a 4K screen, if they're viewing it on a HD screen, if they're viewing it on an old laptop, which might be something like that, you know. So this is why you need to understand a bit about how sizes can affect your design, and it's not always best practices to go and use the full width, because if somebody comes along and they've got a full HD screen and it looks like this, it could look really bad. Okay, so we'll just get rid of that image now and just reset my screen. Okay, so so on this one, you can see here, this is what we're mimicking. This is the background here. So having that background as it was completely fine. Yeah. So that background that I put on there was perfectly fine, because I want that to scale depending on who's viewing it, because that works completely fine. If you have somebody's face or something like that that isn't suitable, and you try to scale that, then it's going to look a mess. Okay. So now we want to put in this text, Convertri is awesome. And again, what we're going to use is we're going to use the understanding of guidelines and guideline widths. So we know that this width here is 960. Okay. So what I'm going to use is another common size, which is 720. Okay. So this is 720 now, which is going to give me 120 on either side of it. Okay, so there's going to be 120 pixels on either side, which is why this is the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to put in the Convertri is awesome here. Okay, and then I'm going to scale this up. It's probably a bit smaller than that. Okay, and then I can center the actual text, and the reason I want to center it there and then also go to here and then center it here is because that's going to give me that perfect centering. It doesn't matter if it fills this box up or not. The fact that the text is centered will mean that it'll sit in the right place. Okay. If you want to receive this layout at the end, once we're all finished, I'll give the share code for this layout. And if you want to then just go, okay, well, I'll just grab this section here where there's 3 of them, or I want to grab this section here where there's 4, this section here where there's 2, then you'll be able to do that. Okay. Is anybody else having any problems with audio? Nope. No. Okay. Well, I can't really say that the audio is working to the person who can't hear it, because they can't hear me. Let me see if I can just pop them a reply. The red one is, I'll tell you about that in a second. Okay, thanks for that, everybody. Okay, back to this now. Okay, so this red one here is a Chrome plugin that is called the language tool. And somebody mentioned in the Convertri group the other day that they had a lot of problems with when they were spelling things out and then had a mistake. So like that would be a mistake. Now it tells me I've got 2 mistakes in this text. I can click on it and then it'll allow me to change it, because it was difficult with I think Google Chrome's standard spelling problems. So if you are looking for a spelling tool that will allow you to edit within Convertri, this is the one. It's called Language Tool. Okay. Not there. So, see if I can just find it on the Google Chrome store, and I'll send a link to people. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Yep. So that's the spelling tool that I use, and yeah, it just gives you that sort of ease to go through and collect your to fix your text. Okay. So obviously, going back to this on here, we that was actually spelled out in capitals. And then obviously we just had it white. So I would just go on Control All and then change the color there to white. And the reason it didn't take it there was because I slided it off the actual page, and then I clicked off. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was using Grammarly as well. It's a very good tool, but not very Convertri friendly. It doesn't allow me to edit as easily. I don't know if you've experienced that. Yeah, Sentry. So this box now, obviously there's more space at the top here, and there's more space at the bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this out, and I want to find the center between this and the other panel. So you see where that pink line come up there? So just find it again. So right there where that pink line come up, that is the exact center between this box which contains the text and this box that is behind it. Okay, so that's a useful tool to make sure you're not only centering as far as horizontally, but also vertically as well. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot that happens with these lines that tell you. So if you drag it over there, you've got a blue line that tells you when you're in the center horizontally, and then you've got a pink line that tells you when you're in there vertically. So when you've got both of them exactly in place, you've got it in the right place. You know, but that's important so that you can maintain this sort of spacing around it. Okay, now if I wanted to be really specific about this, what I would do is I would say, okay, right, how big is this? So this is 232, and I know that we put 120 on this side and 120 on this side. Okay, so I need 240 plus 232, so I need it to be 472. Okay, so if I change the height of this now and then drag this down so I can recenter it again, the space around that, specifically the box, is exactly the same on that side, that side, that side, and that side, if you really want to be that specific. Okay, so I'm going to put the background image in now, and you can just see I was just correcting the height there. I was overlaying it just slightly below where the other panel, the background panel, laid in. Okay, so I'm going to use this now. Not that one. I'm going to put the background image in. Okay. Was it on here? Yep. Okay. Now, obviously with this, what I did is I just did an overlay just so that you can see the difference in layers. Now, if you wanted to do just a background with no specific background on it, you can do. And the reason why I recommend just doing, like you could do without this panel, you know, you only need to put the text there. you don't need two panels in a technical sense, but because you had this panel, you had that ability to center this Convertri text, and you also had the ability to just put your spacing right within that. So it just helps your understanding of the layout better. Okay. Okay. So for messing with your text specifically, so we're talking about line height, heading 1, stuff like that. So we've got the text here. You go to more, and I can change this to a heading 1 tag, which is what I did do on there, because as far as SEO goes, your most important tag, or what you want to explain is the page, should be a H1 tag. Now you don't want to have more than one of these, so you would just have this one H1 tag that contains your most important text about what this page is about. Okay, so you go on to more and set this as a H1 tag. Okay, now if you don't want to, for whatever reason, keep it as a paragraph tag, and then you've got other options in here: strike through, superscript, subscript, font weight, line height. Okay, so you can change all of that within this setting here. If you do change something like line height, so let me just grab all of this, and say I want to change this to a 2. Actually, that's a bit crazy. Let's go to a 1.5. So you can see now I've changed that. The box has obviously got bigger to accommodate it, and now this is not centered within this panel anymore. Okay, so I'd have to re-drag it up, find that pink line, and then it would be centered again. Okay. Okay, so the panel in front, of the background is still here. The only thing that has changed with that is it now has a background that is completely transparent. Yeah. Okay. So let's go into these second sections here. So again, we've got a width of 960. So to make two panels of equal height, what I need to know is what is half of 960. Okay, so that's 480. So I'm going to create a panel. Okay, and then I'm going to start with positioning again. I'm going to put in 480. And then I can drag that over to the left side, make sure that it's on 0. And then I can clone that. And obviously it will maintain the 480 in width. Okay, I can drag that over to here. And what I also want to do here is, you might make a little mistake in effect, where if it hasn't dragged and snapped correctly, so this is what I call a drag and snap. You're holding it there and it just kind of puts it in the right place for you. It snaps it to the right place. Now maybe you were like 1 pixel short or something like that. You can just obviously look and go, okay, well, if this box is 480 and this is only at 470, then you're not in the right position. You just want to put 480 in. Okay. So let's get a text editor in here, Lorem Ipsum. So we're going to generate like 5 paragraphs. Ooh, that's a lot. Let's take 4. Might be too much. Okay, so I'm going to put in text. Now again, I know that let's just change the color on these, just so you can understand. Obviously, I'm only doing this so you can clearly differentiate between these different layouts. Okay, that's why I'm doing all of these different colors, so you can clearly see this is one, this is one, this is one. But you can obviously, remove these and just have it so it looks really clean and they're really spaced out correctly and proper, So there's my text. So I know that this box here, and if you've just done what I've done, by the way, which is just thrown a text box and then gone, okay, I can't see that text box anymore, then you can do this, which is element outlines. And this will put a box around, a pink line around your panels, allowing you to see where you put it. Okay. Seems there was a little audio drop. If there was, it seems to be back now. Okay. Yeah, there is going to be a replay. It should be up by Friday. Okay. So we know that this panel here is 480 pixels in width. So if I want to have a 10 pixel box around my text, so if I want to have a 10 pixel spacer, then I need it to be 20 pixels less. Okay, so if I put this as 460 pixels, that'll give me 10 pixels on either side. I'm going to find the middle of this box, which is there, and then I'm also going to find the 10 pixels from the top. So if the box has a 366, then I need to obviously just add 10 pixels onto that. Okay. Now, I think I actually did it at probably 20 pixels because this looks a bit cleaner. This looks like it would be quite tight. Okay. So let me change that around. So I'm going to add 10 pixels onto there, and I'm going to make this an extra 10 on there. So 10 on each side. I'm going to take that down to 440. And there we go. That's centered again. So now I know with this text, it is going to be nicely centered. It's going to have enough space around it. It's not going to look crowded or all boxed up into one area. It's going to be a real nice and clean layout. Okay. And if I want to do the same on the bottom of this box, so currently it's got a height of 662. I'm going to add the 20 pixels straight to the bottom. Okay. So all I did was line it up with the bottom of that box and then added the 20 pixels to the bottom. So that means I've just got that nice 20 pixels all around this so that it doesn't look crowded within the design. Okay. So I'm just going to stretch that down. Excuse me. And I will now grab the image. So I'm going to go on image, and I'm looking for that arrow man. Okay. Now I'm going to use the information that I already got from this. So the positioning of this and the width. Okay. So this was the height that it was at. So I'm going to mimic that, 386. And then I'm going to mimic the size. So I get that nice clean 20 pixels around it. So that's 440. Okay. And then once you've put your width in, so you see that this image doesn't look exactly the same because it's had to change how the image is laid out. So what you would do is you would go into image properties and then restore original proportions, which is then going to stretch that image out, okay, to get it to the correct sizing. Okay, so obviously now I need to add 20 pixels onto the bottom of this, and then I can resize the other section to go along with it. Okay, so there's that 20 pixels, and then I can use the information off there, 756 onto there. Okay. The box on the left was cloned to the right. Yeah, I don't know if you missed that, but it was cloned. And again, I'm just going to put a panel behind all of this, which is a full width panel. Okay. Okay. And then we have this send to the back feature, which makes sure that it's behind everything else. Okay, so now that's sent to the back. And I'm just going to change the color so we can see the difference between that and the other ones. We'll go with white. So the reason I've done that now, the reason I've done that and put that panel behind it is, say that you come along and you go, okay, well, I actually want this section to be the second in the layout. So because you've got this panel in the back, so the panel in the back of here, I can drag that down, okay, and then I can drag this back up, and I've just replaced the order, okay. So that's why you want to have these panels at the back, so you can replace the order that it's in, okay. Felicia, sorry to hear that. I can't really speak on technical issues. Everybody else is seemingly okay with the audio. There will be a recording though. Okay. Okay. So we'll move into this third section. So I'll put the main panel at the back this time, just to cut out that step. Full width. Got a bit of height on it. And then we want to split this time. This time we're going to split it into 3, so that's going to be 320. Okay, so the first panel, position, and a width of 320, and clone that, 320, and then clone that. Okay, so we've got our 3-panel layout right there. Okay, and we're going to keep the same 20 pixels that we had around this. So once we put these images in here, and it may be that we need to just extend these a little bit, so I'll just add a little bit onto that now. Let's go 400, 400. I think the positioning is very powerful. I think obviously, you know, you may have some frustration with the maths. I can't blame you. But if you use it as the tool like that to just gauge what's going on, and just looking at the numbers, then it's a very powerful tool to have anyway. Okay. So we're going to get these images in here now. Yeah, sorry to hear that as well, Chris. Hopefully it's sorted for you now. Like I say, that is an audio problem. Would be something we'd go to webinar, but I'll make a note of it for future. Okay, so this is the first one, and this box is 320. So if we want to keep that same 20 on each side, then what we're going to have to do is obviously take 40 off that 320. It's going to be 280. Again, if you leave it like this, she's going to have an egghead. So you want to just go into image properties and restore the original proportions. Okay. Now where you might have a little bit of a problem here, specifically getting the right spacing and understanding how your spacing looks, is if you look and pay close attention to this image, the image itself has got extra space on it right here. This is not something in Convertri, this is the image. The image has more width than the actual picture. Okay, so if you're trying to be really good with spacing, like this example has just given you an idea of how to do it, then you may also want to take that into account. If you do want to go over this 960 barrier, effectively barrier, you know, you can just change it in here. It's not really that necessary. I know that Neil's thoughts on it, Neil, one of the owners, his thoughts are basically them limitations were set in, the 960 was set in when Convertri was originally created, and it doesn't want to cause confusion with old pages that were published back then. But that limitation isn't directly a limitation for now. You can change it. And it was just that people had a lot lower resolution screens when Convertri was originally set to that 960. So if you want to go and try an 1140 or something like that, then have at it. But be careful, be very careful that you don't design for a full HD screen, which would be like 1900 pixels wide, and then every person who's got a screen lower than that can't properly view your website because it would look all blown up. Okay, so just be careful of that. This was done within Convertri. This was done to make this circle was done within Photoshop, I believe. Yeah, if you set up border radiuses, I think you can hack it so that you can do it within Convertri. I shall try while I am talking to you now, because that's why I think makes these webinars kind of fun. That is not a square image, but I will need a square image. Okay, this is not ideal, but it is a square image. Okay. So if you've got your image like that and you want to try and create this effect where they have been rounded off, then you can put in your borders here and set up a border radius, and you're going to have to put it quite tight depending on the size of the picture, and it depends on how far you want to go with that, or if you're scaling it down. So if I scale that down, then that's going to change that. Okay, so you can see that this has changed and made that effect. Obviously it would be clearer if you saw an image like that, but you can use these border radiuses to do that. Okay. So yeah, just going back to positioning this lady, we've got the sizing set up. So I want it to be 20 pixels in, and then I want it to be 20 pixels from the top. I'm just going to look where the top is. So this is the vertical. Okay, 1122. So if I want an extra 20 pixels, then I'm just going to need to put it at 1142. Okay, and then I can use that information for the other images, which I'll just clone this one and then change the images out. And I'm just using them pink lines that we spoke about. And you can see here I've got an extra pink line that is actually put a line from the top of the box to actually line up with the other elements that are there. So you can see that this is clearly lined up with what the other ones are as well. So not only is this in the center of the box that it's in, it's also lined up with the other elements. Yeah, this is all being recorded. Bar any technical issues, the recording will be at the latest by Friday. Okay. So we'll just grab this text from here, saves me grabbing another one, and I'm going to put this in, and I just want to get the right sizing from this. So the width was 280. I'm going to bring it up to the bottom of that box, and then I'm just going to add the extra 20 pixels on here to give it that space. Okay, and then paste that text in. Looks like we've got a lot more text. Actually, I think that was the original text. So I'll just use that. Scroll this down a bit. Okay, and drag this down. Oh, drag it down to the bottom there, and then I'm just going to add that 20 pixels to the height. So I've got 20, 20, all nice and clean. And then I'm going to start cloning these, which will be really easy. Obviously, you could just fill this box up like this, delete them ones. You could just fill this one box up first, get it all perfect and right, and then just clone that as a whole box. Okay. And that's again, that's the advantage of using panels to contain all of these elements. Yeah. Once you have this main panel to work with, anything within it will be cloned. Anything within it will move with it. Okay. So if you had this testimonial and you were like, you know what, can you put this as the first testimonial instead of the second one, then you can rearrange it really easily. Okay. The webinars will go into the help.convertri.com via the Q&A webinars section. They'll be right here. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to go into the four-way section. And I'm just going to finish this off. I don't need any height on that one. That's fine. And that's all that 20 on there. Okay, so panel at the back, full width. Now this wasn't very high on this one, so I'm going to go with a height of 200, and then we need 1/4 of this 960, which I believe was, be lazy and use my calculator, 240. 240. So let's get a 240 up. Positioning 240. Okay. Set the height on this 200, and then we can clone that, clone that, clone that. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to put these other images in there now, which I think was in one of these. There we go. Okay. We're just going to use the centering within this. And I think one of them is bigger than another one. Let me just look on the actual layout here. It is that one that we'd already done. So I'm going to just shorten these boxes actually. Positioning. Okay. And then just use the lines to get that center. Drop the next one in. Drop the next one in. Drop the next one in. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a problem. That one's a little bit larger than the rest, so I'm just going to have to scale that down. There we go. Okay, so we've got all the layout there for that. And final piece, which is the disclaimer section here at the bottom. Okay, so again, we need just a main containing panel and full width. And then we're going to have a box for the copyright, which I'll copy here. And then put a panel in. Okay, so when I pasted that right there, it had another line on top, so just watch out for that. And then we're going to have, I'm going to take up about 50% with this one just so I can get 50% on the other one. So that would be the 480, and then put another panel on the other side of equal to that. Okay, and then we've just got 3 boxes in each side for that as well. So obviously you can just do, what was that, 480? Yeah, so that is 160. The panels within this, rather than you doing text, and you'll see shortly, are specifically to help the layout when it goes into mobile. Okay. Doug is hot on with the numbers. I don't need a calculator, I need a Doug. Okay, so I'm just going to size this until it actually breaks, and then center this. And next one, which I think that's just a bit excessive, so we'll just go with that. And what I would also recommend if you're doing something like this is to make sure that you use text centering, because when it goes to mobile, it's just going to be so much easier and look so much cleaner because it's centered on mobile, centered in mobile that way as well. 1738. Final one. Okay. Just check the positioning on this. Okay. Menu tool, I'm not going to be covering that in this one because it's a new feature that's just come out. You would put the text link onto this text directly here, which would be on your general properties here. So you would link that to your privacy policy, link that to your cookie policy. You can do it on the text itself. So if you highlight the text like that and then put a link on it there. Me personally, I prefer to have a bigger area to click because I think it would work better across multiple mobile devices. So by having that whole box, you can see that box there, by having that whole box be clickable, I think that would be better. Okay. So yeah, I mean, obviously, other than changing out these images, changing colors and font sizing of these line height, we have basically got this layout right here. Okay. So if I now put this into mobile view, we shouldn't have to touch that much. Okay. So obviously we can see this because it's already huge text. It doesn't matter what Convertri tried to do. It was gonna have a problem with it because it's just such huge text. So if I scale this down to 100%, okay, so that's that part done. And we have a rather large section here, which I assume is the panel behind there, is it? let me just select it and then I can look. So if you have a rogue panel, effectively this would be a rogue panel. So I'm going to select that panel and then go back to the desktop editor and see where this rogue panel is. Okay, so this rogue panel is coming up here, and this is the panel that would contain this. Okay, so what you want to do there is you're just making sure that these boxes, these three boxes here, are contained within it. Okay, so if the position is 1112 and then 482, you can see that that box is actually bigger. Okay, so they were exact same position, but they had a little bit more height. That should be what's throwing it out. If not, we'll add an extra pixel at the top and bottom, just to make sure that once it's contained, it will be contained within mobile as well. Okay, so that's all it was. It was just slightly bigger. This box here was slightly bigger, and that's what forced it to be out. Okay, so whenever something is slightly bigger than its container, it will separate itself. Okay, so if we go back to the top now, and you can see, even though I made that change on desktop, when you make a change that is related to font size scaling, so where I change the scaling on this heading here, it doesn't make it remobilize. I don't have to redo that every single time I go back into the mobile editor. Okay, because that maintains that one setting. That is why you want to try and get a design that follows this sort of layout and this sort of control, because when you view it in mobile, then it doesn't need you to constantly remobilize it. It just works. I think that's what a lot of people struggle with, which is obviously the basis of this webinar, you know, to make sure that you're not struggling with that. So if I remove the pink boxes, that's going to help us to really understand this design. And this is what I was saying about centering. Because this wasn't centered on desktop, it's not centered on mobile. So what you want to do is just center it on desktop anyway, and then positioning it just so it looks as if it would otherwise. Okay, so that now looks no different on desktop than it did before. If I just move it over slightly, it looks no different on desktop than it did before, but when I look at it on mobile, it's got it centered right there. Okay. So you can see everything is centered, everything maintains nice, clean and clear spacing within all of the elements, and everything is nice and easy for the user to view. Okay. And also I haven't had to go through the process of remobilizing. This is how it come out from the desktop version. Okay. Now you may say, okay, well, what I would actually do is I would have this image within my mobile. I would have this image come up above the text because it explains what the text is about, even though it's on the left. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to break panel to do that. Okay, so what you do is with your Y, you just want to remove it just so it goes one pixel above. Oh, and if I can just let go of that. Okay, so you want it to break out of the panel. So it's 365 and the main panel here is 365. So I want to make sure that that actually breaks out of that panel. Let me just click off so you can see. Okay, so you can see clearly that it's broken out of that panel. Now, obviously you don't want it directly overlaying over this. So what you would do is just take a little bit off this height here. Okay, take a little bit off that height, a little bit off that height. All you've taken off is 1 pixel, and you've just moved this up 1 pixel. Okay. Seems like there's probably 1 more pixel on there if I look really closely. Okay, so that now doesn't overlap, but if I go over to mobile now, you can see that the image is coming up first. Yeah. So the image comes up first, the text comes up next. So this is really important because it's common that people will go, I want a section like this. Let's just drag this down. So if I hold down Shift right now, I've selected the panel below it. If I hold down Shift and I want to drag it down, and I just drag it down, I select the panel on this side of the line, on the left side of the line, and I can just drag the whole thing, and it's dragging everything below it. Yeah. So now what is really common is we'll get this sort of design where we clone this. Oh, undo. So obviously because this is 1 pixel out, it won't contain it within the panel anymore. So if I'm cloning it, I'm not cloning everything, okay? Because it's not within the panel anymore. So if I just move it down, I'll be able to clone it. Okay. Now you can see it's kicked off. This is not, in my opinion, the friendliest way when you do something like that, but it really isn't difficult to fix, because you've only got to take it back to 0. Okay. There we go. And then back to 480. So what I was going to say is it's really common when you have a design like that is you have one panel like that, one panel like that. Okay. And if I just remove the space, so if you ever do something like this where you have a white space, rather than trying to mess about, just use this remove white space above. Okay. So you remove the white space above. Now if I view this in mobile, okay, you're going to see the images are right next to each other, right? And that is why people don't want their design to be one or the other. In desktop, this is really common. It is really common where you have an image on one side, text on the other, and then you reverse it. This is a really common design technique, okay? Looks like that's moved slightly. So, so what you do is what I just explained before, is you make sure that it breaks the panel. Because when that breaks the panel, so if the height of this panel is 365 and you've moved this one so that it is further up from that 365, then it's broken the panel. It's not part of it anymore. So it has to put itself above what is currently in that panel. So now it goes image, text, image, text. Yeah. So even though we've got them on opposite sides. Okay. So yeah, generally that concludes the best practices. Does anybody have any questions specific to that or around that before we start moving on to actually putting this into place in different areas? I'll just give it a few minutes and just grab a mouthful of water. The Spellchecker is called Language Tool. And put it in chat to you. So yeah, everybody should have just got the link to that. The point of the grammar and Spellchecker is just so that you have a Spellchecker that allows you to physically edit it within Convertri. I've tried quite a lot of other Spellcheckers, and it doesn't really make it very easy for you to actually see where your error is and then correct it. So if you've got a big box of text like this and you use like Chrome standard editor, it's very, very difficult to try and edit the text. even though that's been a pain for some reason. Doesn't normally happen. It's been a pain for some reason. Just going back to the questions. Yeah, if you change any of the images, it'll stay within the same place as where it is. Yeah, you could copy any of these elements. So if you wanted to copy this section here, you can go to clone element to another page, and it'll take that whole entire section to another page. So if you've got a header, or you want to use this same footer for every single page, you can clone it to another page. Lauren, I think I got yours. If you change any of these images, it'll just stay in exactly the same position as it would have done on mobile. So if I change this to one of the other ones that I had, okay, and then it just instantly changes on mobile, and that's what you want to do. That's why you want to be able to have it like this. You don't want to have to go through the process of trying to relay everything out in mobile. You want it to just be ready. You just want it to have all the correct spacing and ready for use. Okay. Yeah, for all of this text, it's called Lorem Ipsum. No. As far as changing numbers and placing elements, you can work on the freedom of that the editor gives you to scale items as much as you want. But if you want to have a layout where you've got two boxes like this, then it could be that you decide to have this box as 40%. If you're going to try and do a design that looks clean like that, then I suggest you look into using the positioning to get that sort of width correct. Because what I see all too common when people create a design is that they'll have, like, the image will be somewhere over here, and then the text will be right boxed up against it, and it just doesn't create. So if you look at that now, and if I remove this background, so if I put this to white and then put that as white, so if you look at that, it just doesn't, it's got this weird spacing up here. It's way off center. Now, obviously, I've been doing this for 10 years and designing sites and stuff, and this is kind of a standard practice with other editors. But because Convertri gives you such freedom in your design, I think that when I look at some designs, I'm like, why have you got it so far over here, or why isn't it centered? It's because most of the time people don't understand that it's not centered. So if you understand how to lay out these sections, then you'll have a lot easier time of trying to create a quality design that doesn't look messy. And also then when you go over to mobile, it's not going to look messy either. It's going to have nice spacing, and it's all going to be legible. Obviously, this text isn't very friendly to that point because it does need the line height fixing. If I was going to do this personally, I would have that line height as probably maybe higher than that, probably 1.3, 1.4. Yeah. So about 1.4 is going to give that a real easy to use customer experience, user experience, so that they can read what you've put. Because the more difficult it is for your user to try and read and view your page, the less time they're going to spend on it, which means the more problems you're going to have getting them to get to the point where if they can't get past your 2 or 3 pieces of text down to where your buy button is, you're not going to get any sales, you know. Gail, if you have something like that, if you have a program to plug in, you've got 2 options. You can add it to the page settings right here, custom scripts, custom styles, depending on what you need to add. And you can also add it at a funnel level, you can add it at a domain level, and you can add it at an account level. And you can also do them in the specific places on your account page, on the domain page, and on the funnel page. So anytime you need to add something else that comes in script format, like a chatbot or a compliance script or something like that, you would need to add it just via this, via the custom scripts JavaScript. Cheryl, let me actually test that theory for you. So Cheryl was asking about the templates that you get within Convertri as standard. They should, hopefully I don't cause problems here. They should follow these sort of best practices where they don't break things. Let's have a go at this business social one. So you can see generally on this page they've kept again within the 960. All of it follows within the blue lines. If I do a display of the elements, so they don't really have these separate boxing, which is what I would recommend. This section here where you've got all these comments, I would recommend a panel behind this so that it helps you to move it more freely, which they aren't using in this template specifically. And let's see how that goes into mobile. So yeah, you've got a quite large space in there and a few different space in here. So it really shows up a little bit more. I think you can see clearly that it shows up quite a bit more when you actually look at the mobile of this, because it just doesn't have that sort of real in-depth that we just went into. Now I understand that you may not want to go that in-depth, but if you're really looking for a clean design that's going to give you no hassle when you go into mobile, then the sort of training we've just gone through on is really powerful, you know. If I remove the lines from this, you can see that there's a few little bits where the spacing is a bit different. Like you wouldn't want this. If this is your page and you've got a huge white space here and a tiny white space here, then that is not, in my opinion, that's not an acceptable finished design, you know. So that is basically what we've just gone through so that you don't have them problems. When you pick up your page and you lay it out with the training that we've just done, you're not going to get these weird sort of layouts. Okay. I don't want to badly pronounce your name, so I'm going to go with Peterson because I can pronounce that properly. Yeah, I haven't dug too much into them because personally, obviously, I build everything from scratch. But yeah, I'd be happy to pass on that feedback, and maybe it can be looked into and help. Christine, are you talking about the order of like how you have these? Like how mine's a massive mess because I don't really try to order this one. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so it's just drag and drop. It's just drag and position how you want to. So for example, if I clean this up a little bit. So if I clean this up and you go, okay, well, this is my opt-in right here. This is my sales page, and then this is my checkout. Then you would lay it out in that order. These arrows don't specifically do anything other than just show you that this one goes to this one. I'd imagine it's more useful if you have a company where 2 or 3 people come into it and they go, well, I've gone onto your funnel, but I don't understand what goes to what. So if you want to use your arrows on that basis, then you can do that. But as far as any other layout, you can just put it wherever you want. And it might be, for example, say that you have a no thank you. So that if you said this is your sales page, and then they have a page that is no thank you, where they say, I'm not interested, so that you have a downsell, and this is your downsell. So you'd have that option where they come from your opt-in, they go to your sales page, and if they go no, then you hit them with the exit pop-up, and then it sends them to the downsell. Or if they do proceed, obviously they go to the checkout. So it just gives you an idea of what's going on, Obviously, we go through quite a lot in the webinar, so you've just asked. I've just had them questions in the chat, so I will note them down and share them. Gail, it's difficult to say really. It's difficult to say. Normally, it's difficult for me to say, and kind of a difficult answer. If you want to message me on Facebook, my name's Martin Colley. I'm in the Facebook group. You'll see tons of messages about the webinar and stuff like that. If you want to message me, I can probably give you a more detailed answer about that, but it would be difficult for me to answer it on here. Yeah, your funnels, you can have as many funnel pages as you want. This is my test bed. This is my throw anything on it and test it. If somebody asks me a question in the group and I want to test it and make sure it's working for them, then this is why this was such a mess, because I just put it there and it's probably a one-time use. So if you have any down here that are just waiting for future use, like test A, test B, test C, or whatever, then you can then bring them interaction effectively, but you're always going to have to link them up, so it doesn't matter so much about so much as like these arrows and stuff like that. It's just a visual thing. So if you wanted to remove that and then say, right, well, this is my opt-in, you can then just bring that up. but it's more visual than it is actually do these do anything, because they don't. Great, I'm really grateful to hear that, Gail. I'm glad it's helping you. So yeah, I did say I was going to touch on like Stripe connecting your checkouts and stuff. So I better do that, even though we are about an hour and 10 minutes in. So I'm going to lightly touch on that, or otherwise we'll be here for multiple hours. But I'll try to get into that. So going through the checkout process, you want to go to your account, go to integrations, and then you're going to go to Stripe, which is the only payment processor at the moment. Okay, you would go to setup, and then you will have a publishable key and a live key. Where you actually get these from is your Stripe dashboard. You go over to developers, API keys, and then on this API keys you're going to have a publishable key and a secret key. And then to get the test ones, you simply cross that over, and then it's going to give you the test versions. Okay, and you can grab them and then put them within Convertri. The reason you have the test ones, and I'll go over in a second, is so that you can use test cards, and the test cards are here. So basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to grab this card and you just put in any 3 digits and any future date, and then you can do a test payment. Okay, so obviously you would come over here, put that in, save that, and then your Stripe is going to be integrated. Okay, then you would have your currency. Now, something to understand is once you set up a currency at the account level, okay, so you can see this one is in US dollars. You cannot change the currency because you have already made orders. This also relates to if you are just testing a product. So if you are even just testing and you leave it in US dollars and then you want to go back to Great British Pounds or something like that, then you're going to have to contact support to get that changed. So make sure to try and set the currency to what you actually want it to be. Okay. Regarding PayPal, it's been on the books for a while. I don't know. I can't honestly say. You can obviously go within your PayPal. You can grab the PayPal button or PayPal link, and it'll process it that way. If you need something to do it a bit more involved, then you probably want something like Thrivecart or something like that. The webhook secret is basically when you connect to different processes. As an example, product dyno, they ask you to put the webhook secret key in, and basically this allows you to, when you send data from Convertri to product dyno, it ensures that it's protected and only comes with that secret key. If you don't use a secret key and somebody has your webhook information, then they can effectively steal the data that you're sending, which might be emails or something like that. Just gonna grab a little bit more water. Mail VO, I have never heard of it. Sorry. If you do want any requests for anything to be added, then email support@convertri.com. Send them an email, because they will make sure that it goes into the appropriate places. And we've also got the feature request, feature upvote, featureupvote.com, convertri.featureupvote.com, where when you send something in, and this is not guaranteed, not everything will go into here, it goes through a process with the back-end team to decide if they can do it. how long it's going to take, and if it would be better than putting something else in. And then depending on that, it will be added to the feature upvote. And then once it is massively upvoted, it will decide on what features get added. So you can see here the top one was the menu element. It was the most upvoted and it got done. Okay. So that is the best way to request anything. Chandra, I assume you're talking about Stripe for the SCA compliance, which in the case of that, it will be yes. With any general mail services, they should give you a HTML option, which you can add in. Let's get back to the page, which you can just add in via the HTML section onto the page. So you've got the HTML element right down here. You can add it here and edit the HTML and put your form code in there, or you can add it via the via your account, and then there is this HTML forms where you can paste the HTML form code in there, and then what it will do is it will act like an integration. Now it may not be perfect because it's got to figure it out, but it will act like an integration. So you can select it from here, and you can select your HTML forms, select an existing one, and then you can pick the specific fields that you've got on it. Okay. Sorry, my bad. The HTML section is here. This is HTML element on the elements bar with the reverse facing arrows, and then you go on edit HTML and put in the form right there. Okay. And if you want to do a more direct approach, which should give you more control over the design, obviously most autoresponders allow you to design the form on their side, but if you want to try and design it on Convertri side, you need to do it via this HTML forms section. Okay, HTML forms, paste the HTML form section there. Yeah, Robert, there will be a recording by Friday. Not that I'm aware, Chandra. Feel free to pop into the group, and Neil will probably be able to answer that a bit better. He can say what's happened behind the scenes with that, but I don't think there's any additional settings. The integrations, yes, for MailChimp. I don't think there's any integration for Zoom. No. But I believe that Zoom has, again, a HTML option. And you can also go from one integration to Zapier to another integration, to a non-integration. So, for example, if you send data from Stripe to, so you connect up Stripe, you send that data to Zapier, and then obviously that data from Zapier then can get sent to Zoom. It can get sent to whatever the thousands of tools that are available within Zapier. Okay. And that's the same for MailChimp, GetResponse, Aweber. If any of these tools connect to Zapier, then use one of them to send it to a tool that may not have an integration. And Zapier is coming as a direct integration, which will allow a lot more usage of tools, but it is in process. It is convertri.featureupvote.com. That is the link for voting. View, edit the HTML directly from within Convertri. Not quite sure what you mean, Alexandra. You can obviously, when you put HTML onto a page, you can then edit it from the box that it's within. So once you have a HTML element like this and you've got the code there, and you can make any edits to it. We did I was just replying to Tony. If you go into the Q&A webinars, I did this webinar here with Start Your New Decade with Convertri. We did a lot of talk about pages and layouts within that one, for different opt-in sales pages and stuff like that as well. And then this one for collecting emails, collecting data, split testing, that was Google Analytics, Google Forms, setting up a, not Google Forms, setting up an email account with the cPanel. So that webinar is in there. And then you've also got past webinars. Obviously, I'm not sure why these ones are lower down. Just try not to watch the 2017 ones because you might confuse yourselves. Robert, I can't really answer that one. I'm not sure specifically what you're doing with Amazon S3 or where that links into Convertri. If you want to explain that a bit more, I can possibly say. I'll just go back to checkouts here. So if you're doing a checkout, we've gone through the Stripe process. These two specific ways to then process a checkout. To give it a checkout process, should I say. So you've got form elements, and then you've got the submit button. So form elements, submit, and then you've got element properties, and change the mode to checkout. Okay, obviously you need to have a product. So if I select a product here, okay, and then you need to have a thank you URL. Is that going to align with that? Okay. So now if I save this, this is the Convertri checkout. Okay, so I hit submit, and then it comes up with this pop-up checkout right here. Okay, so that's one way of having your checkout. Okay, and then your other way of having a checkout. This is why I like and wanted to sort of explain this sort of design to people, because you could strip this out, strip that out, and you've got your two sections there. So then you can go into form elements, put your credit card input right there, credit card input, and that's your credit card fields. Okay, and obviously you're going to want to take some other information. So you can take their first name, the last name, and then the card number, and then a submit. Now when you've got the submit on this one, what you want to change here is you want it to actually submit. Okay, you don't want it to be checkout anymore, you want it to submit. Okay, so when this form gets through, and we will actually add an email to that, form elements email. Okay, so when that form goes through, it will submit instead of actually popping up the checkout. If you can see also what I'm just doing there for the sake of good spacing is I'm just letting it roll down until it gives me that little box, that little pink box with the shadow over it. Okay, so it has the pink line and then a shadow, and I did that with every single one, so they've all got that nice space between them. Okay, so you can have a checkout like that, and say you've got this second column here. You would then let's go for image. Do we have any tick boxes? I don't think so. No. I'll use this one. Where is it? Okay, that one's gone hiding. Let's drag and drop. I think it was so small. Okay. So yeah, say you've got that was me using the shift button. So say you've got two sides of the element like this. You could have on the right hand side or the left hand side, whichever you want. Let's get some Lorem Ipsum. So you can have your check marks down that side, showing what they are actually purchasing. Just if you select both of them, so I hold down the control and select both of them, and then if I click clone, then I've got both of them. And then I just want to make sure that that four-way arrow comes up, and then I'm going to reline these back up. Okay, and then I've got both of them again, reline it up. Okay, so obviously spacing wise, there's probably a little bit more space here than there is there, but I'm just generally showing you a sort of design that you can do here. Okay, and then obviously think about the lessons that we went through in the first place about how we would actually put this together. Okay, so if you had your sort of checkout, and if these were tick boxes instead of explanation marks, then this would be your sort of version of a checkout. Again, what I went through earlier, if you want to remove your white space, then just do that. Okay, so you can see how basically this page has turned into a checkout page, because we've got testimonials down here, we've got proof of success. You know, we've been on Oprah Winfrey, Forbes, featured, or whatever, and then we've got a checkout there. So that is why this layout that we've been talking about all the way through is really powerful for you to have. Okay. Which is why I want to just clean it up and go back to the other one so I can give you this. Oh, okay. Okay. And then the same sort of thing happens. Don't want that. The same thing happens when you have an autoresponder. Rather than you connecting a product up here, you would go onto your forms, connect to an autoresponder. In this case, I've got GetResponse linked up. Select your campaign, and then you would link up these different fields to different areas. So you don't have to use all of them. You just have to know that if you're using one, what it is actually going to be linked to. So this field within GetResponse is called comment, but if you can't specifically put comment, you can put notes. Okay, so if I want to make sure that what is submitted goes to the comment field within GetResponse, I need to make sure that I create a type called notes. Okay, so when I come over here and go form elements, and it doesn't matter which one I pick, but text input would make the most sense, and it's still going to tell me it's an email box. Okay, so I would go to element properties, I would change the placeholder text, and I would then call it notes, so that they would put in any notes. And then for the input properties, form field, sorry, for the form field, I need to make sure I select notes. Now what Convertri will do is it'll highlight, it'll bold any of the ones that are currently active. So these are the 3 that I need to make sure are on my page to ensure that this form submits. So I need one that is notes. I need another one that is full name. Okay, so I can change this to from first name to full. And this is just the placeholder text. This is just the text that shows up inside this input right here. Okay, then the field settings, I want to select the full name, and then we just need one more, and that was email, wasn't it? Yeah, email. Okay, so we've got the email there, and the email one is the one that is generally always right. It will always pick the right field because email is always automatically required. Okay, but just check your form field settings anyway. Okay, and then the final part of this puzzle would be a submit button. And again, we just want to make sure that it isn't on checkout or link or download or anything like that. We want it on submit. Okay, and that when you click that, it will submit the full name, and it will submit that full name to let me just show you. So the full name will go to the name field. So in my get response, it will go within the name field. The email will go within the email field, and the notes will go to this reference field. Oh, I've got it twice there. Select that to none. Otherwise, that would confuse things. So the notes will go to the comment field. Obviously, I can label this directly within my get response to make more sense. So if it's called notes within Convertri, I can create a custom field in get response that says notes as well. So it would link all of these up. Okay, but that just helps you understand how the forms sort of work. Okay, just going back to the messages. Feel free to drop any messages, or if I went a bit fast or anything like that, or any questions you have. At the moment, there is no saving within collections. It's in process, but it doesn't exist at the moment. The credit card information goes to Stripe. Yeah, definitely two-step opt-in form. Okay, so if this was what we wanted, was a two-step opt-in form, which is basically, for anybody who doesn't understand it, is you click submit, and then it would pop up and then actually ask for the details then. And this is a micro commitment that has been proven to help conversions. So rather than just trying to take their information right there on the page, you ask them to fill a micro commitment that shows their interest, and sort of, I've already got this step forward, so I may as well just put my email in. It's been proven to improve conversions. Okay, so what you would have is, we can just delete these. So we need a layer, we need something to pop up, so that is what we call a layer. So we create a layer, and this is the Optin. Okay, so the Optin, we've got that, and then once we tick that layer, then we are now working on that layer. Now if I try to click this submit button, I can't click it, and I can't mess with any of these items because it's completely fresh. It is completely, it's like we've just put a brand new piece of paper on top of it, and that is where we are working right now, okay, within this layer. Now you've probably seen this, where if you have a pop-up, then also what you have is a bit of a shadow on top of the original page. Okay, and that is this background setting right here. So this background setting 0.7, and that is just straight from black and with the 0.7 on the end for the opacity. But you can just scroll down here. I like using 0.7. I try to keep my numbers even and stuff like that. So you can see this is how it is now. We've got a bit of a shadow over it so that they know they're not on the main page anymore. You would then put your panel in, and we're going to go for a width of 720, because I think that's a good width for a panel. Okay, a height of about 400, center it, and depending on how far you want it from the top, this is personal sort of preference here, and we'll go for 100 from the top. Okay, and then what you're also going to need within this is an exit, which is this. Now, I recommend actually getting a proper icon. This isn't a proper icon. You can see it's got a background on it, but it'll do for the purpose of what we need to do. So we'll just scroll that down, and then just put it in the corner. Okay. And I'm just using these little boxes just to, you can see the little pink hover, the little pink shadowing that just shows me the spacing. So I know that the spacing is equal from the top, and I know that the spacing is equal from the right. Okay, so that gives it a pretty good center effect, a pretty good even spacing around the actual element. It's not too far to the right, it's not too far to the top. Okay, and then on this, what we're going to do is go into element properties. We're going to go into actions and events. We're going to add a new action. We're going to go to event type, click, on click, action. Now we want it to hide, so it's going to hide the target, and then we need to select the target. So the target is that layer Optin. Okay, so that's what we're getting that to do. Okay, so we go from click, on the click, and then we're going to hide. Now if you want, you can have it fade out, or you can have it just hide straight away. So you've got two options there. Okay, and then you've got your target, which is the layer Optin, and just leave this ticked. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so when we click this button now, it will be hidden. Okay, so now I'm going to hide out this layer. I'm going to untick it, so I'm now back into the main area. Okay, so I'm going to go down to this button and go to element properties, and then I'm going to go on to button settings, and I'm going to change the mode from submit to actually a trigger now, and I'm going to add an action to it. So event type, click, on click, show. Again, you can have it fade in or just show it. Personally, whatever you do it on both. So if you want it fade in, then have it fade out. It's just good practice. Okay, and then target. So the target is again the layer Optin. Okay, and let's just move this up. Here will do fine. Okay, and I'm just going to change the text on this. So general properties, button settings, button settings, label. So instead of saying submit, I'm going to say get free awesomeness. This is kind of appropriate and sort of centered. Okay, so now when I save this and preview it, so now I can click this button and it pops up, and I've got this close right here to close it. Okay, so you can see it does the shadowing, and then I can also close it right there. We went through adding the Optin fields, adding the actual forms. So you would just go in layers, and then obviously within this you can put your text in there if you want. Get awesomeness, enter your email. Oh, get awesomeness, enter your email. Obviously do it a bit cleaner. But I'm just showing you because I think we've already gone over it. And then, you know, go through the form elements, adding the correct form elements like I showed you a few minutes ago. And then on this submit button, you want it to actually submit. Okay, so make sure that your mode is set to submit. Okay. Okay, just going back to the questions. AJ, add custom fields. Add your own custom fields, first name, last name. You might have needed to link a product and a form. If you don't get the information from just a form, you might need to, from the product itself, from Stripe, you might need to add an autoresponder form as well. Yeah, you can deliver files. This is a pretty cool feature that not many people know about, but you can deliver files from within Convertri, and all you do is you change your submit button to a download button, and then you select a file right here, okay? And then you can upload files, yeah? So you can upload your PDF, and all you would do is this would be your thank you page. You would put a submit button on it. Now you don't even need to, if you want this to be a little bit different, you can remove the background from it. Okay, and then you can remove the text. Oh, not change. Remove the text. Just change the color. So yeah, if you didn't want it to look like a button and you just wanted it to be text like that, you can do that. Just remove the background from it. Limit how many downloads. I think the standard policy for Convertri is don't take the piss, sort of thing. don't take advantage. Just just be smart about it. You know, don't try and give away massive video files and stuff like that from within Convertri. It's not designed for that. You know, just general PDFs. If you did something excessive like put a 1 GB movie on there, then I'd imagine you might be getting an email from Convertri saying you're not being very fair to the other users within Convertri. Okay, we're getting to about 2 hours, so just give me a minute, guys, and I'll be back with you. Guys, just had to grab some water. I haven't tried for the maximum file size. If you post in the Convertri group about what limitations there is for the download functionality, and what sort of size, then I'm sure they will be able to give you that. It's not something that I personally deal with. So yeah, I'll just get you the share code for this. Just this one. Okay, I've just sent everybody the share link. The WordPress teaching membership training was made available. I think sadly it didn't get as much attention, but it is there. So if you go to help.convertri.com and type in membership, it comes up with it as the first one. And this is a mini training. Well, not even a mini training. It's quite extensive training. There's 6 videos there, and there's also some other cool stuff of using Zapier with Stripe, connecting up your subdomain for WordPress. Even if you don't want to have a membership site, you can use this for just adding a WordPress blog to your Convertri. And there's some basic training as well on how to just set all this up. So yeah, if you're looking for it or if you're interested, the training is there. It's on help.convertri.com, and just put in membership. Yeah, I posted it in the group about last week. But yes, the group sometimes it doesn't reach everybody. Okay, if you struggled with the link, I've just put it into the other chat. I don't know why they like having multiple chats, confuses things, but there you go. Hopefully you've all got the share link now. The software was it actually says, oh, where's my mouse gone? There we go. Okay. Restrict user access. So that was that's the plugin that controls the membership functionality within the WordPress setup that I talk about. This is a list of the plugins that is used. But yeah, that's all. All of this is linked with all the different texts and search terms for plugins, JSON files, so you can get the lesson template. You can see there a bit of a lesson template. There's some additional CSS. All the Zap data is there. So all the information, like I say, I did class it as sort of a mini course, but it's quite an extensive course. But in the same token, it's not difficult to go through, and even from just understanding what you can do in different areas, I think is a very good course for people to go into. This gray area, Carrie, here, on the mobile view. This part here, this part behind here, is what you're talking about. lower. Oh, okay, that's where we must have broken that box. We must have broken that box again. So yeah, I was saying in the webinar, if you experience something like this, you can select the box within mobile and then go to desktop, and you can see which is the offender. So if I go into element properties, I can see the positioning, and I just want to make sure that anything these other boxes is contained within it. Excuse me. So yeah, because we obviously changed these, that's what's happened. So if I put these back to 503, that must have been when we've been tweaking things. So yeah, anytime that you have something that falls out of the area of a main containing panel, so this is the main containing panel in the back. So if these don't fit within that directly, if they aren't, if they're even out by 1 pixel, it will force it out of that area and make it its own separate element within mobile. Okay, so if we go back to mobile now, just remobilize because it looks like I made a change. Okay, so you can see that that's fixed now. So if you already grabbed the template from the share code, grab it again. I don't think the share code changes. So yeah, sorry about that, and thank you to Carrie for pointing that out. When we change things around, that must be what happened. That I moved some bits about. Susan, not sure what you're referencing, sorry. Peterson, they're for two different people. Product Dino is 200 to 300 a year at the moment. So the solution that I've provided just means that you need a WordPress hosting solution, which you can pick up for $3 a month. So the solution I've provided is for somebody who wants to do it really cheap and not have that sort of condition. And also, I think what I see a lot of times is where people get a solution like Product Dino, or they get something like Kajabi and they don't use WordPress or something like that. They struggle if they try to move their membership site in future. If they want to try and move their content, then they have a real struggle. Whereas if it's on WordPress and you want to change your membership site plugin, you just change the plugin. Or if you want to download the post data, you can download the post data. So it's just a different way of doing it than Product Dino. If there's an error with the share, it might be because I've just republished it. So I'll just give the link again. They look the same to me. The URL looks the same, but if it's not working, please post in the group. Please post in the Facebook group, and I will get that template to you. And I'll find out what's going on with it, but that should work. The Convertri import link, obviously you'd have to be logged into your Convertri account. You are correct. It is different, Paddy. Good to know. Yeah, you can just grab the link at the end of the link, effectively the after the import. You can grab that and use that to import, or you can go via the link as well. Thank you, Sheila, for sharing that. You can connect to the lesson, I believe, and it would probably follow a similar process to the training that I provided. You would probably need to connect Stripe to Zapier to Everlesson or something along that. It's unfortunately it's nothing that I can even give you a good answer on this webinar, because it would be too in depth. Okay, guys, so if you have any other questions, get them in. If not, it seems like we're getting close to winding down, and then we'll be hopping off shortly. Generally, what we do is just answer any random questions and try to give you an idea of what you're doing. But yeah, I'll leave that up to you. Peterson, I did do a training on importing pages. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it got uploaded. I'll speak to Andrew about it, but I did a pretty extensive importing training. Very extensive. Let me just put that on my notes, actually. Very welcome, everyone, and thank you for taking the time, and I'm glad you've got a lot out of it. Share codes from Facebook. You're going to need to get the HTML, so Facebook share button. Currently, this would be how you would do it. Not that one. Okay, so this is developers.facebook.com/docs plugins like button. You would change the URL to like, and then you can do any tweaks to the width and the action of either recommended or like, if you want to include a share button or not, and then it would say get the code. Okay, and then you can either do it via iframe, which you just copy this code here into Convertri. Let me go into this one, so I don't break the one that I've already sent out. So you could grab the iframe, and that goes into the HTML element. Go into edit HTML, paste it in there. Okay, so that is the iframe version, or otherwise you have this JavaScript version. Okay, and this they want you to have this script here, and you actually need an app ID to collect analytics. And then you would put this JavaScript, so you've got this JavaScript here, and go into page, custom scripts, and then add script, and then they want it in the body. So you would put in the body, and then put your code in. So that would be Facebook like. Save that, and then you would grab this where you want it on your page, and then again you would put it in the HTML. Okay, and because it's done that way, it's not going to visually see this. So if I save and then preview, it should do. For most people, it's probably going to be the iframe option. Yeah, so you can see it come up, but it didn't come up in the editor. So personally, I'd probably say if you're trying to do this, use the iframe option, which is right here. Just use the iframe option. Yeah, you can use other tools like add this or whatever. Yeah, I'm not in the UK, I'm in Spain, so it's an hour later for me. So yeah, it's a little bit late, but I think this is a good time for everybody, generally around the world, to get in at different times. I know we have a lot of people at different times, different countries, so a little bit late for me is generally good for other people. But thanks, Gary. To send a message to support, whenever you're in your editor, it's on the left hand side, support@convertri.com, or obviously just go into your email client and support@convertri.com. If you have any requests, then send it there. Terry, have you tried with just the code part, which is, let me grab just the code. So when you grab this code here, you would just go into import page and then enter the shared URL right there. So I'm going to put that in the chat now. BB, could you go into a bit more detail about how far you want to understand e-commerce? Because yeah, it's obviously Convertri isn't directly set up for massive e-commerce, but it will function in an e-commerce way. So let me know, what sort of level of training you want on that, so that they can ensure to deliver it. But I have noted it down. How to connect your funnel together. I mean, in basic terms, it's all links. It's linking from one to the other. So if you've got a form, then your thank you URL on your form. So if you've got an opt-in, so let me just put some text up. If you've got an opt-in, so this layout page is your layout, right? This is your opt-in. So, and then your sales page is, let's say, because my domain is Virtri, I think it's XYZ or something. And if I publish that as dash sales or something more appropriate, don't call your sales page. Call it something that speaks to the customer who might want to buy. So then what I need on this page is my thank you URL to be this page, okay? And then if I don't have the checkout on this sales page, then I would have a button, so my buy button. So this would be then a checkout page. So then from there, from that sales page, it would be the buy button, which would then go to virtri.xyz dash checkout. Okay. So whenever you're creating the buttons between here, so the thank you page right here, so this is your opt-in form. Let's say that you're going through the opt-in process. You want the thank you page to be your next page in order. So once you publish your page, your sales page, and you've got the URL from that page, so if I publish this, it's going to tell me the URL right here. Okay, So if that was the next sales page in the order, yeah, then that is what I would put on this thank you page. I would put that right there. Okay. And the same sort of thing if this was a button that just sent them to a checkout page, then I would change the link right here so that it would be a so obviously that would have to be a link. So this button would be changed to a link. And then within that link, I would put the one that has a checkout in it. Okay. And then the same thing again, when you've got your product set up here, you would put in the redirect URL the page that is your thank you page. Okay. So hopefully that explains how you sort of link it all together. It's not massively a difficult process. You've just got to have your links and then link it all together. This process of arrows is just visual. Okay. Okay, so looks like we're quietening down. BB, just reading your message. Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, I've noted that. I'll look into it for you. Okay, well, I think that is all of us. I think all the questions are covered for now. If you do have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the group and I'll answer them for you. Yeah, late for me. It is 5 minutes past midnight. Okay, very welcome, and glad that you all enjoyed it and got some value out of it. And I'll make sure that the recording is sent over to the powers that be that can add it to the knowledge base. Okay, guys, thanks. Speak to you again.